Welcome back, everybody, to the Fearless Training Raw Knowledge Podcast with your host, as ever, myself, Alex Connor, where we talk about everything training, nutrition, and lifestyle. And more than ever, it seems we need to really collaborate, come together, and distill a lot of information at this time. With the international pandemic of COVID-19 still very much upon us, and I don't want to dwell on this because in this episode today, we've got our first round table. It's an all-female, apart from myself, round table special episode where we delve into a lot of the training and nutrition idiosyncrasies, a lot of the myths, misconceptions, and thought processes that get confused from a lot of female perspectives, and also improving the health of well-being for the female athlete and females in general, especially when looking at approaches and modalities when it comes to training and nutrition, and also vitally how that implements and correlates over to lifestyle. But before we delve more into that, first of all, yes, the Fearless Training United Academy is now $10 a week. For those of you who are not aware, it is the Netflix of fitness. We're just getting started, and it encompasses all of those key elements of which I have mentioned just before. In there, you will find the educational tools you need to understand the fundamental principles of all of the elements. These will teach you all what you need to know in a very simple, easy, digestible fashion, so you can start to build and create your own regimens and take yourself off the proverbial hamster wheel and stop the confusion from all this information that you're getting fed from social media. There are good bits of information out there, but it's very hard to identify that information and pull it away from a lot of the minutiae and a lot of the misinformation and myths that you are getting fed on the daily. So click in the link in the description below, or go to fearlesstrainingunited.com. That's fearlesstrainingunited.com, and you can click in, read more about the academy. You can jump in there, you can sign up and cancel anytime. It's a subscription-based service, just like Netflix, okay? And you've got recipes in there, you've got how to go into the supermarket, what to shop for, how to read food labels, we've got smoothie recipes, professional cooking schools, how to do the exercises, how to calculate macronutrients if that's something you want to do, and if and how you should do that, and even more. There is a plethora of information for you there. It's mobile friendly, laptop friendly, touch of a button at your fingertips, 24/7, on demand, international, anywhere, everywhere. I've sold it to you. Get in there. If you've got any questions or queries, guys, please ask. But honestly, the reason why I push this so much is because it's something that I'm very, very proud of, and I had a mission when I was a younger individual than I am now, that I wanted to provide information that everyone could have access to, and I wanted to make it very, very high quality. I wanted to make it affordable and accessible, and that is what the Academy is. It's here, it's now. Get onto it. Now, my guests today, as I've already aforementioned, are, an all-female roundtable, of which we have a broad range of demographic. So I brought two of my clients, young and old, on the podcast, Brie and Gay, and I've also got my friend and fellow coach who has appeared on the podcast before, Sandy. We get into a multitude of topics, again, all female specific, getting perspectives, opinions, thought processes, and experiences within these given topics. Now, we do delve into how the effects of COVID-19 has taken an impact on these ladies first. It would be almost ignorant to ignore it, but I think this will really help you gain some perspective of that you're not alone. Everyone is going through this, and it may even give you a few ideas and mindsets for you to better overcome the current adversities as well. However, guys, as always, thank you for tuning in. I appreciate you. I am grateful, and I know you're going to really enjoy this episode. Make sure to share it around. It helps the channel grow. Leave a rating and a review on iTunes, Spotify, or whatever you listen to it on. It would mean a lot to me. And it would also help other people, which is the main goal here. Now, without further ado, please enjoy my wonderful conversation this week with the first all-female roundtable podcast. Right then. Okay, well, team, welcome back to the Fearless Training Raw Knowledge Podcast.
1.5 meters.
Oh, that's right.
social distancing, apparently. We're breaking some rules, but we don't have 10 people in here. Not that you can see. But anyway, this is one of the first roundtables that we're doing. Apologies if it's a bit echoey, probably edited it a bit, but it will be audible. We wanted to provide some good information. So initially, this roundtable is regarding, it's a female special, as you would have seen if you've read the title, based on getting a collaboration of females' opinions, thoughts, experiences, and knowledge for female trainers specifically to add some positivity and slay a lot of misconceptions. Now, we will first address COVID-19 and then we're going to get off the topic because there's more positive things to talk about. But I think it's important and perhaps useful if we go around and actually get real life examples of how it's affecting people in different demographic groups and what we're doing to proactively overcome it. So I'll get all the guests to introduce themselves. So I might just start with Bree and then go around. And if you want to just introduce yourself, who you are, your age, what you do for an occupation, how COVID's affected you and what you're doing to overcome it. Cool.
Alright, my name's Bree. I'm 20 years old and I'm a personal trainer, and I was working in a pub as well on the weekends. So on Sunday I lost both my jobs, but fortunately for me, my parents-in-law, they have had lots of equipment, and so we, in about 6 hours got that all and packed it in the garage, moved all the cars out and everything, and trying to train some people from there, as well as put some boot camps on and make it more affordable for people, because as we know there's no gyms open at the moment, and we want to make sure people's mental health is alright too, as well as physically. So yeah, that's me.
Thanks, Bree. Gay?
My name's Gay, I'm 66, and until probably 20 minutes ago I thought I was on 2 weeks leave, but then received a phone call to say, sorry, effective immediately. Well, as of when your leave finishes the end of next week, you don't have a job to go back to. I do have some pro rata long service leave. I evidently have to write a letter of resignation and state that I have an underlying health condition, which I'm quite happy to do. And this is something that I've been thinking about, should I do, but I wanted to get something else lined up before I did it. So it's kind of just, the decision has been made for me. And I worked in a call centre for a limousine company, so obviously people aren't travelling, airlines aren't working, so there's no crew transfers from airports to hotel and back the next day, etc., etc. So, at the moment I'm still a little bit in shock, but I'll be okay. I'll be okay.
We will. We will. Sandy?
Hi, I'm Sandy. I'm 36.
This is actually, you're the first 2P person on the podcast.
The first what?
The first person to, like, 3P, 2P, repeat.
Oh, yay!
The first person to appear.
That's me.
Yay!
That's me.
It's a gold star.
Well, yeah, it was actually probably, I'm 36, I think, or 37. I always get that wrong. I'm a strength coach at a smaller sort of studio gym in Burleigh called Hold Your Own. As of Monday, we had to shut down. I suppose I'm in a little bit of a fortunate position because I had made the transition from doing a lot of one-on-ones to a lot of online training. In saying that, you are losing those face-to-face clients, and as the week goes on and as these stages progress, a lot of clients are losing their jobs. So probably have lost about half of my clientele because of that. But it's also, I suppose positively, it's kind of forcing me to do things that I just didn't do in the past, like have more of an online presence, create that stronger help online rather than just trying to do everything face-to-face and one-on-one the whole time. So yeah, just got to be positive. There's some opportunities that have come along the way as well. So I'm just trying to remain happy and remain the support for my clients and everyone around me, and help the boys out at the gym, and they're helping me out, and we just got to keep stronger and do this together and try and stay positive. I mean, there was a moment there where you get worried and stressed and you feel crap, and my migraine came back, and you know, husband was like, calm down, relax, don't worry, it's gonna be okay. But yeah, we're here doing something on a Thursday, the sun is shining, as you said. So yeah, we just gotta look forward, I suppose.
Correct. And ladies, thank you for your honesty. I appreciate it, and I know it's not easy, you know, going through this, but I think we are all collectively as a race in the same boat. I know some people have got it better than others, and some people have got it worse, but I don't care who you are, we've all been affected by it. And you know, obviously the inevitable question, myself, as most people will know, I'm in the same boat. You know, I'm a strength coach, and I've also lost, you know, a large percentage of my clients, which is understandable in the current scenario and climate. But as Sandy and Bree said, you know, obviously looking towards, you know, improving and trying to create a positive impact within the industry. That's all right. And you know, get online, which I think was where a lot of us want to be anyway. Not for the reason that we want to turn our back on the one-on-one, but the fact that this is a prime example of how, you know, having online business and being able to scale it, you can help more people in a more economical and efficient fashion, but at the same time you can also create, you know, an income for yourself and provide for your family. So with that said, guys, let's put COVID-19 to bed for now, and let's focus on some more positives, and let's talk about what we, you know, came here to talk about. And like I said, it's not bad. This gives us an opportunity to, you know, have more time to perhaps pursue those passions that we have neglected, to perhaps do those little things, create structure, you know, reconnect with people, stretch, be creative, and what I like to call think laterally at a time like this. So first of all, let's go through some questions around female training, females doing the weights, specificity, etc. And we'll just extrapolate it and go from there. So I think the first things first, to kind of give context, let's start to slay some misconceptions so then we can actually pave the way forward with some context. So when we talk about female strength training, there are obviously a lot of misdemeanors, there's a lot of misinformation out there. I would like to go around individually and do what we're doing, and then we can just sort of talk freely as well, but I'll propose a question to you ladies, and then we'll sort of all give our 2 cents on it, and then we'll follow any lines of inquiry. And the first one is, what do you think, based on, again, where you are, your age, your demographic, the people you work with, or where you're at in your life, the biggest misconceptions are for strength training in relation to people that are in the same, you know, collective as you? We might go we'll go the same way. So Bree, we'll start with you again. I've got donuts on the table for people watching on YouTube as well. Everyone's being very polite at the minute. But
Go for it, ladies.
Thank you, someone had one.
Woo! And wet wipes.
This is comfort food.
Well, that's it. And the thing is that you need the wet
You know,
wipes.
it's funny, I don't, as a rule, eat donuts because I don't even particularly like them, but
Oh, these ones are good.
They're
Yeah.
fresh.
somebody, you know from experience.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, no, they've literally been made less than an hour ago.
Actually, didn't you and I have one together?
We did.
After,
That
that
was
was
the
like
first
our
time we
first
had
time we had, you were just finished with your prep, and I
Oh,
was
yeah,
just
yeah.
about to start my prep, and I just left EMF. It was after lunch.
Literally.
Yeah.
That's right. And it was like, there was quite, I think we tried all one of each of
I
them.
think we had one of each of them, a whole one.
I wish there was smell-o-vision right now, because they smell amazing.
They do
Like,
smell
just lost the edge, but still,
Oh.
Sugar on them. What?
So much sugar, really?
Don't worry, you'll burn those carbs off
Did you
later.
pick up a jam one though?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably the highest sugar one. So you
Yeah,
got
but-
caramel, Nutella, and jam.
I would say it's 6 to 1, half dozen of the other, to be honest. They've all got sugar on them. It's the sugar that I find a bit.
Oh yeah.
But anyway, that's.
I mean, who
I won't be so,
donuts and sugar?
so
Who would
rude
have
as to
done?
be, but
I was gonna say, get it down you go. All right, Bree, talk to us. Talk to me.
Alright, so being just starting out in the fitness industry, not anymore, but I was working for Good Life and doing a lot of consultations with a lot of young girls. I found, like, obviously we all know a lot of people want to, the whole part of it is to look good, basically. That's a big part of it, as well as other things like mental health and things like that. But yeah, a lot of people were like, I want to lose weight and tone up. But at the same time, they would all say, I don't want to lift too heavy because I don't want to get too big. And that's like a big common thing that like I always heard. And the thing is, if you want to, like, you know, I used to say to them, look, you to tone up, you do need to grow muscle. Like, you know, if you just slim down, you're basically skin and bones. Like, we all do have muscle, but yeah, they were like, I don't want to get too bulky. And yeah, trying to explain that to people was hard because, you know, it's been said so many times over social media. People would always say, you know, high rep ranges to, you know, lose weight and tone up sort of thing. But as we know, that's not how it goes. So yeah, that's a big thing that I heard in the fitness industry, speaking to a lot of young girls my age, and yeah.
No, 100%.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I guess there was one other lady of a similar age to me at work who was just so totally different to me, and I don't know, I think they sort of held me in a little bit of awe, and I don't say this because I'm big noting myself, but just that, oh wow, Gay, you do that?
That's cool.
Because the misconception is that once you get older, you know, you can't, you don't, whatever, you shouldn't, but you do, you need to, you know, your health is everything. And you and I touched on this a few weeks ago when we were talking about, you know, it being a luxury. It's not really being a luxury to look after yourself.
Correct.
It's a necessity.
It is.
Isn't it?
And I think people, because, you know, where you're at in your stage of life, you take it more seriously. You know, where I think it's the same with everything in life. Like say finance. When you're young, you don't forward think.
No, you don't.
But when you're on the latter end of it, you start to go, well, actually, hang on, and maybe that's got something to do with it.
I wish that I had forward thought when I was quite a bit younger, say your age or...
Imagine if we got on at her age.
Yeah. And you know, all of us included.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I didn't, so
absolutely.
and I can't sort of be hard on myself for not doing that. I mean, it is what it is. You know, I look at some of the other ladies at work who were all probably 5-10 years younger than me, still going through menopause, developed the roll round the tummy so that there's not a lot of difference between bust and stomach and that big tire, and they don't walk well, they're susceptible to bugs that go around, and I just think, well, I know where I'd rather be, you know, doing what I do.
And we can't see you on the camera, but you do look amazing. So
We'll get a cheeky arm flex on a group photo so people can. I know, but I think it's good for people. Like I don't know about you, but and the listeners are probably nodding their heads now. When I'm listening to a podcast, I'm formulating if I've not seen the person.
What do they look like?
And then when I see them, sometimes I'm like, that's not what I expected.
Expected.
So we will definitely, for people who are not watching on YouTube and even still just get a bit of a group shot, and I'll put your profiles in there. But
so
yes, that's really good.
I probably thought the same as what, you know, even the younger girls. I don't want to be too bulky. Whereas perhaps mine now is, I'd like to fill up the saggy skin with muscle. But I don't know whether that's going to happen or not, maybe to a certain extent, but
Correct, there's
it
definitely
probably
things to be
won't
done.
totally alleviate the problem. But hey, I mean, I'm enjoying what I'm doing. I'd like to continue doing it in some form or another. We'll just have to wait and see how things go.
100%. No, good stuff. Some great points there. Miss Sandy.
Yeah, look, I mean, it's all of that. All of that, what you all have said is so relevant. Like, I get young girls who are like, I just want my heart rate up and I just want to stay in the high rep range and that's all I'm worried about and I want a booty. And I'm like, well, if you want a booty, you know, doing 1,000 repetitions of bands is probably not going to get you the same effect as what a squat and a deadlift and a hip thrust is. So, yeah, but I don't want to get bulky and I don't want to... I'm like, you got to be strong, you know, you got to do this stuff. So, yeah, that misconception of weights make you bulky is the biggest load of nonsense out there. You know, we probably get onto nutrition at a different stage, but that's probably the main thing that we need to focus on. I do have a lot of older clients as well, and I appreciate their approach towards why they're doing things, it's not about the aesthetic, but once they start feeling better, it does become a little bit about the aesthetic. But you know, the fact that they can move better, the fact that most of them have had a hip surgery or a knee surgery, and they're actually getting stronger and feeling better in their hips and their knees because of lifting, that's amazing, you know. So you know, it's easier to get into the gym when you're younger because you don't have these preconceived ideas and you don't have a lot of insecurities. But as you get older, it's that, you know, you do have all these young people, and it's a very big step to go into a gym. And then those insecurities do creep up. So it's really good to see an older generation stepping up and doing it for a different reason. So I'm probably going a bit off topic there.
No.
But yeah, like, and not to go off topic again, but I think another misconception that's coming out there, and I'm probably something you will address as well, but is the whole nutrition. So I've just had a young girl who's come to me, and she's going, like, I've only ever eaten 1,300 calories in my life. And I'm like, what?
I'll put that in the donut.
And it's like, now she's eating more food, and everybody at her workplace is going, you're just going to get bulky and fat, and she's losing weight. And I think we've got her up to like 2,200 calories and still increasing her calories. And you can actually now see how she's getting more toned in her shoulders, and she's like, what have you done? I'm lifting more weights than I've ever lifted in my life. And so yeah, she's got that reverse where she's gone, I'm eating more, I'm training harder, I'm not getting bulkier, I'm actually losing weight, getting more toned, feeling fitter, feeling better, and everyone else is giving her slack because she's eating more. So it's like that whole reverse of the whole strength training as well. So
no, 100%. No, this was no off topics. I just wanted to throw that one on the table and see where you all went with it.
She can resist all the sort of the peer pressure that she's getting.
Well, she just keeps going, look at me. This is what I'm doing, and I'm eating more. And but I must say, I do feel like there has been a bit of a shift in the industry.
Yeah.
Like
there is.
I don't think people still come, you know, just before this whole COVID-19, we had a massive change, and there was a lot of people coming in. There was a lot of women who were like, I want to be strong. I'm tired of being weak. You know, I was on the jet ski on the weekend and I fell off and I couldn't pick myself up. And it's like, you know, I've never been like that, so I want to be strong. So I think if we as women can be role models, you know, and you, Alex, I had to laugh because you're like, oh, woman. I'm like, pretty sure you're not, but anyway.
Excluding me.
You know, like,
it's 2020, all right?
You know, we're different generations here. You know, we've got a beautiful young girl here who I've seen train in the gym way before she became a trainer, and I think, you know, you've got the right idea, and yeah. And then, you know, we've got an older generation and mid, you know, we're all different here.
Oh, I see, I did that. See
yeah,
what I did there?
So positive role models for women out there and men. So
100%.
why not? But don't be too strong. Still got to keep that little bit of femininity.
Yeah, exactly. And that's also subjective as well. In many ways. Now, I think that's good, because now what we'll do is we'll dissect those key things that you brought up, some things you did, some things you didn't, within all realms training and nutrition. So I'm going to, once again, I'm going to put something forward based around what you've all just said, and we're kind of going to extrapolate on that a little bit more. So the first one we'll throw on the table is, again, the bulky thing, right? The whole women training, you know, in lower rep ranges with higher weights, with bigger compound movements versus, you know, the cables, the isolations, etc. And I'll get you to give your 2 cents on that. Once again, from your perspective of your own experience, whether maybe you've done it yourself, you see other people do it, and again, for the ladies who train others or have friends who train, any conversations or any coaching that you've had to reframe with your clients to, you know, educate them on, you know, context, why and how, and this, that, and the other, etc. So, yeah, all right, we'll go the opposite way. Bree's giving me the fingers now. She's got another donut in her mouth. so yeah, Sandy, compound versus isolation. Let's talk about women lifting heavy versus, you know, doing the higher rep stuff. What's your experience with it? What are the biggest misconceptions? How do you frame it with your clients?
I think each to their own, and I think you have to individualize to the person that you're training, dependent upon their goals. So, yeah, you know, if they want to, like honestly, lifting heavy weight ranges is definitely not going to make you make you big and bulky, yeah, you're gonna obviously that's gonna be your bread and butter, you know. So if we can refer back to our squats and our deadlifts and our hip thrust, bench press, overhead press, those big compound movements are always going to be better. You're gonna stimulate a lot more muscle in those exercises, and it's just about, I don't want to use those terms, but slowly but surely overloading each of those exercises. You are gonna, if you can't do those exercises because of injury, then yes, we're gonna look at machines and cables and things that are gonna help you to do those movements. But yeah, your bread and butter is gonna come from your big compounds, and you're gonna work, you know, as we program our clients, we're gonna work in different reps ranges and depending on what the goals are. But yeah, lifting heavy is definitely not gonna, you know, you're going to look stronger, and if you eat a little bit more because you're not in a calorie deficit, you are going to look a bit bulkier and a bit chubbier and a bit fluffier, or as we say, a little bit fluffier. But that's
thick
fine.
thighs
Thick
save lives.
thighs save lives. Yeah, I've been there myself. You know, I went from a comp prep into powerlifting, and yeah, gained a fair bit of muscle. Did feel a bit fluffy, but that was not due to my weight training. That was due to me over exceeding in my calories, and now I'm under eating in my calories and still lifting the same heavy weights and getting stronger and getting that little bit of fluff off and feeling amazing. So, but yeah, all relative to your clients. You know, you can adjust things according to your clients, and for my own personal training, I just know I have to stay on my nutrition, and as I can still continue to lift heavy weights, and I'm absolutely fine.
That's great. Individuality.
Yeah.
That is key.
Yeah.
100%.
And now that we're doing all these at-home workouts, I'm freaking exhausted. But I'm definitely not as sore. Like it's a total different stimulus. A completely different stimulus. So yes, my heart rate is up there, but it's calorie expenditure wise. If I was doing a squat, I'm probably burning the same calories in my 5 sets of 7 squats versus 30 minutes of high intensity. So it's like, yeah, if you're after a bit of a heart rate and calorie expenditure, how much leg press and how much leg extensions do you have to do for the same amount of squats? So
very true. Interesting facts there, which is for sure. Okay.
I don't really know whether this one sort of applies to me, because I mean I'm different to you guys in as much that I'm a trainee rather than a trainer. So.
Well, it does, because you can give us your perception of what you thought about lifting, you know, weights or heavier weights and doing the big compound movements relative to you.
I was totally intimidated.
There we go.
Totally intimidated, especially the first time I came along after we'd had our first session, and I'm going through my phone and thinking, what the bloody hell was that? And then I'd Google it to see. And then I'd get to a machine, if a machine was involved, and think, you've had already a chuckle about this. Which way do I sit on the last one?
Yeah, those are good times.
So, but once I actually got over that and just focused on me and realised that everybody else around me is focused on what they're doing, they're not focused on Granny Gay over there making a muck up of something. Just go and do it. And that's what I did. And I just kept coming back and getting reassurance from Alex, and I don't feel bulky. I've certainly built up a lot of muscle. I feel leaner now than I did before, 12 months ago. Weight wise, it's sort of around about the same. There's not a huge amount of difference in it. I'm eating a lot better, although I have had over the years always eaten relatively well, but probably eating a bit more now. So you certainly don't have to, you don't get bulky just by going to, and at times I was working out for 4 or 5 times, or trying to work out 5 times until we cut it back to 4 times a week. So
fantastic.
Yeah.
There we go. And it's true, isn't it? It's that whole weight relativity. Like you said, your weight has fluctuated a few kilos, yet we're eating more, you look better, you're stronger, lean mass is up, fat mass is down, body recomposition in action. To look at that from a binary perspective of a weight, you know, if you were looking at on a sheet of paper and you just looked at someone's weight, you would say, well, nothing was really happened. But then if you looked at the programs, you looked at your weight, your progression, you looked at the actual measurements from girth measurements, you looked at progress pictures, you looked at nutrition, you would see that trend. And I think this is we'll just highlight it, and this is why you've got to track certain measurables, certain metrics, but it doesn't have to be complicated, and you don't need some, you know, DEXA or body weight impedance scan. Really, it is common sense.
I think with clothes, I'm less round the waist, but it's probably slightly more round the thighs. Because I know there are things that are, and also across the shoulders. Some time ago I put on a denim jacket that I hadn't worn for quite a while. So I put it on and I thought, okay, well, as long as I'm sort of like this, I'll be okay. If I go like this, I'm stuck, you know.
Wow.
So, and yet I don't feel my arms necessarily particularly big. So perhaps across the back of the neck or across my shoulders or something.
Well, that's it. Building muscle in the
but
right
definitely
places.
waist measurement seems to have dropped because, so that's good.
So creating that beautiful X-frame, nice broad shoulders, strong midsection looks good, legs are strong, you know, all the things you need.
And probably more definition as well in my thighs than, you know, obviously the cellulite and other age-related problems. But
How long have you been training with Alex?
just on a year.
Yeah, I thought it was, because I can remember your first session with Alex before.
Oh, really?
Yeah, pretty much.
We actually looked at
Bart
some
Simpson haircut.
And just the way that you are carrying yourself compared to when you first started, you can see a big change.
Well, we were looking at some videos yesterday on workout, and it was just actually, even I was shocked to see the difference. Like I said, even just the body language.
Oh, totally.
But such an inspiration, honestly, Gary, to give you credit where it's due, to see you perform these movements which you were so intimidated by, better than 90% of people in the gym, who are, if anything, more able and supposedly more educated, but not so, you know, and being able to do these big compound movements, like there are other ladies and men similar to your age and older who do that, and I just think that really puts that to bed of, oh, I can't do that.
Because I'm too old.
Yeah, and which is just one of many excuses. So, no, I think you're an inspiration, and credit where it's due. I think you've done great.
Yeah, well done.
Bree, young blood.
Okay. Well, seeing as I'm young, coming from like that experience, like I was also influenced by the media. I was doing those cable kickbacks and banded work and all that sort of stuff. And
you were doing like 12. Were you doing like 12 or 15 exercises per workout?
Oh yeah, like so many. I would be in the gym for like 2 hours and just like all sorts, like those crab walks, the banded glute, like
I remember your first comment. You were like, "Is this all?" And I was like,
I was in so much pain.
Yeah, you're like,
but yeah, it was crazy because like I come from doing so many exercises and then just coming like and feeling, oh yeah, I'm alright, like walking out. But then starting training with you and lifting heavy and like focusing on bigger compound movements, I was so surprised how like exhausted I was by the end of the workout and so sore and just like it was crazy. And you know, I've been training for like 5 years on and off, trying to, you know, watching YouTube videos, like being influenced by all the media out there of people doing, you know, isolated movements. But I've seen so much more progression like in the last like, you know, few months than I have like for the past years, you know, so like so much more definition and things like that. And I feel like because you get your body to that point quicker using those exercises, like big compound movements, you don't need to do as many, you just like go hard on the compounds. And like, yeah, I'm all for that now. Obviously we're doing home workouts and stuff like that, so trying to find any resistance is good at this point. But yeah, I would never go back, you know, so.
Were you getting the results doing what you were doing before you joined?
Kind of, like it would take,
Longer.
Or a lot longer. So like after like 3 years of training, I did get somewhere. I did notice change from when I first started.
Right? Yeah.
But you've had
But,
to put in an awful lot of hard
for the
work.
past 6 months, I've seen way more change than I have in the past like 3-4 years. You know, so yeah, exactly. It just takes a lot longer, you know, what works better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes
so
you just
definitely
gotta work things out.
Yeah,
for
exactly.
yourself.
And like those isolated movements do come into play.
There's a time and a place for them.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
You know?
Like you said, for injuries and things
Yeah.
like that. And also like there's specific muscles you wanna work on. So that's why you do isolated, you focus more on those body parts, but yeah, compound is king, for sure.
That's some great points there, ladies, and I'll sort of touch base on a few things you all brought up. And I think with clients and
I hate that thing. I hate it. It's like sucking on a baby's bottle or something. Seriously, but I didn't
some
think the
people
other
think
one.
that makes
I
gains, but
know,
anyway.
but I thought you guys would all get your trendy bloody drink bottles. I thought, well, I better sort of show Willem.
You're all right.
Yeah, yours is huge.
no.
Yes, yeah, it just helps for the bicep.
Excuse me. God damn it.
It's very deceiving though because you get to the bottom of the water bottle and it's still really heavy and then there's no water in it.
Fill it with sand and you got yourself like
It's
a 20
an
kilo
at-home workout
dumbbell.
just all the
I was
time.
going to say something, but I better not.
No, Alex is
going
gone totally
to.
off the
Say it's double the size of mine, but anyway. Water bottles. No, it's good. You can have a laugh. I think I'll sort of underline a couple of things you all made there, and I think the first one is when approaching clients or anyone for that matter, education comes in and giving someone a why and a purpose. So, for example, you'll get a lot of pushback initially from people and misconceptions. Now, for example, if you're brought up believing in green or red, that's what you're going to believe. And if someone says, hey, no, it's blue, then sometimes you'll go, yeah, maybe it is. But a lot of people go, no, that's not right. So I think if you present evidence and real life examples are what initially will get someone's buy-in, and then of course seeing is believing. So I think educating people on why the compound movements are better and making them understand that, you know, because of the volume, the multiple muscle groups, the multiple energy systems, you know, joint movements, etc., that they can do, and you simplify that, most people can then see quite plain, like, oh, this is, yeah, I can see how this is superior, and then giving them context. And like you said, Sandy, specificity and individuality come in depending on someone's skill level, where they're at.
Yeah.
Some people can't obviously do the big movements, that's a luxury, so we have to work up, but we can still do a digression of them. I think that's really important, because then people go, okay, so you're not just telling me blue's better, you're telling me blue is better because X, Y, and Z, and then giving some general recommendations and context. And as you said, Gay, you know, in relation to, you know, you're not bulky, right? You're the same weight, but your lower body fat, measurements are better, you look better, you feel better. From a physiological standpoint, you know, women do not have the same testosterone levels as a man. So unless you're taking performance-enhancing substances, you are not going to get jacked, big. You know, you can definitely get large as a female, and as Sandy said,
take a bit longer.
it's going to take a bit longer. You're going to really need to get stuck into the nutrition and eat in a surplus and lift a lot of volume.
Yep.
So what will happen is you will get obviously tone, tight, sexy, all these describing words, which really are just they are describing words, but effectively there's only lean muscle tissue and body fat when we look at, you know, body recomp, if we're looking at those two in isolation. And Brie, like you said, when we talk about, you know, it took you a short period of time to make progress, that's training intelligence, right? And training intelligence really just relates to what's going to give me the most value for my time and my efforts based on where I'm at and all of those factors at this point. And as, you know, coaches and practitioners and even, you know, gym goers, we should always look at, without becoming a rocket scientist, what is going to be most congruent to my goals. And I say this all the time, but, you know, if your goal is X, don't do Z. And this seems so simple, but when you put that in front of someone, they go, oh, you're right, like, if I want to look like this, why am I training like an endurance athlete? But because of, I think, social media, and unfortunately a lot of misconception around there, and there's a lot of females who are, you know, and men who are sellouts, and they are promoting things that are quick fixes, cookie cutter, you know, buy my ebook, and it's not really, it might have elements of truth in it, but it's laced with misconception and things that are very devious in terms of what is actually going to get you the results. And that adds to the confusion, which is the irony, and therefore you've got more people chasing rainbows than ever before, because once again the basics aren't sexy and they're hard to sell, where really they're the things that we should all be doing in order of priority. So I think there were some really good points made there. And we'll do sort of more within that training realm or whatever comes to mind, but I think we need to address nutrition as well for females. Again, we've already touched base on it in a few of the lines of conversation. A lot of females think starving themselves is the way to go. And guys, look, I'll just put this out there for the listeners, if you're looking at your favorite fitness model on Instagram and YouTube, don't believe everything they say here or do. I'm not saying they might not be genuine and authentic, but most of those girls are living in their own hell. They are starving, they may not be even having their menstrual cycle, they are constantly food focused all the time, they're not strong, and that at some point does end, whether you see that on social media or not, and they will binge, they will end up with eating disorders, and they will not be healthy. So let's go around and address that from your experience again, wherever relevant standpoints or whatever points you want to make in terms of the biggest misconceptions around nutrition as a female, perhaps even your own experiences, where you started. I know I started with doing some pretty darn near dangerous things.
We've all done it.
Right? So I think that's important to share, and I'll add my 2 cents at the end, but ladies, you go for it. This is about the females, so let's go the opposite way. Bree, let's start with you. Hit it.
Alright.
Go! No, I'm joking.
Well, when I first started out, obviously there wasn't as much, like social media wasn't as big, and the whole calories in versus calories out wasn't really a thing. It was just like eat less, move more sort of thing. That was such a big thing. So it's like, well, follow that. So I would...
It's a nice ambiguous statement, that, isn't it?
Yeah. So I couldn't tell you how many calories I was eating, but it was like nothing. I would obviously stay away from carbs because my mum did lots of yo-yo dieting, and I just kind of was like, she's done Weight Watchers and this and that. Like, obviously they know what they're talking about. Just like trying to get ideas from everywhere. And so I was that person that stayed away from carbs and didn't know why, like I wasn't losing weight or anything. Nothing changed. It was like a cycle, because then I would binge, I was starving, I would just eat a whole bag of chips or, a packet of cookies, like anything. I would just go just that bad relationship with food. And then obviously the more time went on, there was more information out there. Learned about that calories in versus calories out. It doesn't matter what you're eating. Obviously, for your insides to be happy, you want whole foods, but you got to eat a lot of food to make the body happy. Because I'm pretty sure, Alex, you said to me, it's like back when we were hunters and stuff like that, the body's metabolism slows down if you starve it to give you more time to find food. So that's what people do these days, sort of thing.
Adaptation.
Exactly. So and then I'm on, I think, 2,500 calories now, and it's amazing. Like, my body
How many
has
carbs?
so many.
Good.
All the carbs. And it's just it's crazy, so much
And
energy.
you still want more.
Yeah.
But no, and there's no reason why we can't.
And I don't feel someone said to me the other day, I told them how many calories I was on, and they're like, well then, F off with your abs then. I was like, the body can only put on so much muscle, so why go too far in a calorie deficit, surplus to, then it's all just fat.
It's relative to you as well.
Exactly.
Right? No one can come up and go,
100%.
I'm going to eat 2,500 calories when it's taken time for you to get there as well.
Slow process. Yeah, for the body to slowly adapt to eating that many calories. But if you want to get stronger, build muscle, get toned, nutrition is king, big time. I feel like it's so hard to tell clients that, that because they won't adhere to it. It's such a big thing. They're like, why am I not seeing results, or this or that? And it's just well, what do you let me see your food diary, sort of thing. It's so as much as you can do all the training in the world, you won't be able to see the results until you get your nutrition intact, sort of thing. Yeah.
Thanks, Bree.
Well, if there wasn't much social media around when you were young, much there wasn't around when I was young. I grew up in a family of, there were 5 of us kids, so Mum always sort of catered, everything was cooked to a crisp. or vegetables were always overcooked, meat was cooked to a crisp. And it was just basic food, you know, meat and 3 veg and potato or something. It was all homegrown. Dad killed a sheep. She didn't have to buy a great deal, that we were miles from the supermarket. So, I don't know, I suppose we ate as healthy as we could under the circumstances. And nobody ever sort of focused on it, you know. Your lunches were jam sandwiches or whatever. There was no refrigeration. Mind you, this is in New Zealand, so, but even so, it does get, believe it or not, quite hot in the summertime. So whatever you took to school in your lunchbox sat in your lunchbox. It wasn't like you could put, you know, and nobody died of anything. No. You know, you just, I don't know. I don't really know when I sort of, I suppose perhaps after my first pregnancy, I put on a lot of weight, and so that was when I started focusing on losing weight. And I had tried absolutely everything from, you know, cutting carbs to ridiculous things like oranges and bloody boiled eggs and, I can't remember.
Can't find the magic combination.
Jenny Craig, Weight Watchers, like Neezy, I did have quite a lot of success with that, but that was latterly, but prior, just everything. And nothing really works because you're depriving yourself of something. Do you know what I mean? You're not eating a balanced diet, you're just eating an excess of certain foods, and you're cutting out good food that you could have eaten in moderation. So it's gaining an understanding of how you've got to eat a balanced diet, how carbs are actually important. And yes, you can lose a lot of weight if you don't eat them, but as soon as you stop and start eating them, you're going to sort of, like you said, sort of binge on them, because it's like, oh my God, you know, I've so missed a great big cheese sandwich, or I've never really been into biscuits and chips and stuff, so probably bread would be my downfall as far as carbs go. So I try and limit, but get my carbs from other stuff. So I just, it's, and I guess really Alex has made it easier to understand, or it's reinforcing what's been in the back of my mind, that hey, it does actually work, and then you can see the results. And know that by eating X number of carbs and X number of fat and protein and fibre, etc., you know, you can lose weight or maintain weight and lift weights and maintain a good, healthy lifestyle.
100%.
Make sensible choices.
Yeah, it's interesting to hear about like what it was like when you were younger, before all of that.
Well, there was nothing. There wasn't even TV.
No.
There was nothing. What did we base our, I don't know.
On your mum and dad, or your family, your parents, your traditions, you know?
Culture.
Yeah.
I guess, the word magazines.
Yeah.
Really. Or there were, but it wasn't something that
It was a luxury.
It was a luxury. We had a cousin who she only had a brother. There was only the 2 children in the family, and we always considered them quite wealthy. And they were a little bit older than us, and so their mum and dad, my aunt and uncle, would invite us to go and stay with them, maybe 2 or 3 at a time. They loved having us smaller children around. But this cousin Joan had what used to be called, they were an annual book that would come out every year, and it was about movie stars, and there might be Ava Gardner and Gina Lollobrigida and Sophie Loren and Gregory Peck and Tony Curtis, and all these people featured in them, and that was really, you looked at them and thought, oh wow, she's beautiful, look at the clothes she's wearing, or look at the hairstyle, or the pointy bras, and just that was sort of where it all started, I suppose. And that would only be, if you were lucky, once a year you saw a book like that, until I went off to boarding school. And then I'm in a situation where there's lots of other girls my age and lots of other ideas and stuff sort of floating around, but you didn't have a lot of choice with your food because it was all You
Yeah,
know,
you
as
got what you
boys,
give them,
all of
wouldn't
us sort of like, yeah. But
Eat
nobody
them.
really overate in those days because there wasn't
The
you
technology.
you just didn't. There wasn't the money to spare for pocket money that I could go to the tuck shop if I was hungry. But then I wasn't hungry.
Yeah.
And you didn't focus so much about stuff
You
like
didn't
that.
have that many choices.
You
so
didn't. You
no.
just got on with
Yeah.
it. You
Yeah,
just
listen
You
to
ate
your
what
body.
mother gave you and you didn't even argue with her because if you didn't, you'd be in trouble, right?
Yeah, and so thousands of children starving in
Exactly.
Biafra and, you know, and all the rest
Exactly.
of it. So yeah.
Oh goodness, spoiled for choice these days.
Yeah.
Well, that's right.
Mm.
We are. And you go to the supermarket and you want to buy a simple, I don't know, let's say a tin of tomatoes.
And you've got
Do you
6,000
get crushed
Yeah.
tomatoes? Do you get Italian ones?
Do I add
you get
herbs? Do I
want
add
herbs? Do you want bloody garlic? Do you want-
exactly? Yeah.
And then when you get home, you realise that you've got a tin of whole tomatoes because somebody put them in the wrong shelf and you put your glasses on and now you're going to chop them all up.
Yes.
Oh, that's cool.
That always happens to me. I'm like, damn it, so I put the wrong flavour on the wrong thing. But you're right, that's a really key point actually to address a little bit later in terms of just too much variety. And again, it comes back to the basics of the best, but we're all bombarded with too much choice, which,
Not today. You've
Is
only got a
it
few choices in the supermarket at the moment.
well, I was just going to say, we're going back. We're going back.
We're going back.
I think we need to simplify it.
Absolutely.
100%. Keep
That
it
way,
simple,
yeah.
It's
stupid.
going to be a
Listening
bit
to your body.
uncomfortable for some people,
Yeah.
but nobody's going to starve from the lack of choice of biscuits or
Yep.
tomatoes or cuts of chicken or meat or whatever.
But look what people are going back to the basics. Mince, like your protein source and
Meat,
carb
veg,
source,
fruits.
veg. That's it, right?
Oats.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pasta, oats, mince.
And
The
but it
whole
works,
of
right?
Australia is eating spaghetti bolognese. I can tell you.
Bag bowl.
oh,
Oh, that is true.
oh,
That
yeah.
is true. Sandy?
Well, yeah, I was just saying, I grew up in South Africa and you had meat and 3 veg, and that was it, and that's what we ate.
Right.
And you ate what mum gave you or what dad made, and you didn't have a choice. I was very active as a kid, so I would go from school to mum's hair salon and I'd stop off at KFC and get a KFC burger every day. And that was fine. Like, I got through things, but I was extremely active. I played every sport under the sun. And then when you left school and you started, going to university and you became a little bit less active, you were like, oh, I can't really eat the same stuff I used to eat. So maybe I need to cut down on the amount of food that I'm eating. And then, when we started, sporty from a young age, I had my first personal trainer at the age of 16. So I was in a gym from a very young age. I did swimming, so we went to the gym to stay strong. And so I was fortunate that I was just always active, but we did eat fairly well because we had a lot of meat, we had a lot of veg, we had a lot of potatoes and all that kind of stuff and fruit. But weekends you would just blow out because you'd go out and you would drink and you would we had a good social life and you'd eat some things that you shouldn't have to and you thought you were being really healthy, but then at the end of the day you would just all blow out because of the weekends. So once we started lifting weights and we sort of started getting into that, like we did light and easy, we did Weight Watchers, you did everything under the sun because mum was trying it, so you thought you'd try it and you go to the gym and this one was telling you about it. And I mean, my first trainer put me on a diet of oats in the morning, chicken, I can still remember chicken, tomato, and then fish and broccoli at night. So that's old school bro science there, that's bodybuilding, so you kind of clean.
Yeah.
But once I started getting, and I think everything that everyone's mentioned here, it all works because in the short term, you are putting yourself in a little bit of a calorie deficit, light and easy specifically, 1,200, 1,500, 1,800. But how can my husband, who's, over 100, well, he's actually not over, he's very lean now due to refeeds and more food. But anyway, that's another story for another day. But how can he be eating 1,800?
Yeah.
That's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
So,
Specific.
all these things work in the short term. You will get a result from them, but they're not sustainable. And I think education has become key because we can go into a situation. There's a donut. I know how much calories is in that donut, but if you want to have it, no problems. How will that affect my training? Yes, you probably will have a bit of a high, and then you'll feel down from the sugar, and then you need something else. So you do make better choices, but allowing yourself the freedom and choice to choose something is a lot easier than restricting yourself from it. Because I think as soon as we add restrictions in, and then people come to you, but I'm on keto. I'm like, yeah, you're losing weight on a ketogenic high-fat diet because in turn you are eating less. because your fats are higher, so you're feeling fuller for longer. If we had it added up as calories, you are still eating less. Carbs are not evil. You know, we all know if we had to break it down, like you need the carbs for energy, your brain needs the carbs, you need the carbs for training, and let's not forget the good carbs. Vegetables are carbs, fruits are carbs. You know, rices, pastas, all those beautiful things, it's carbs. Like people forget, like, so yeah.
That was good. Carbs are not evil. I like that.
They aren't. They're amazing. Like, I think, you know, coming from a coaching perspective, I think certain things work better for certain people. I have had people on higher fats, you know, due to more sort of female issues, and I find my older female clients respond better to higher fats, but that comes from working with them for years to work that stuff out. Like there comes a South African out in me, years.
I was just gonna say, are you listening, Clay?
But yeah, just and as I mentioned before, the client, it's educating them and teaching them what's in food, understanding, like, and yeah, the fact that they're 54 kilos and, you know, eating more food than they've ever eaten in their life, but it takes time. And I mean, I've told you, comp preps, you know, we go diets, got a wedding, overeat, diet again, got a holiday, overeat, diet again, got an event coming up, overeat. So we think we're going all right, but in actual fact, we're doing this yo-yo, and we're never allowing ourselves just a little, you know, it's all or nothing sometimes, and especially with women, whereas men can kind of, I don't know, my husband teases me all the time because he's just mono all the time, right? It's just, whereas I go yo, and he's like, can you just be like me? And I'm like, nah, like we do this because it's, I don't know if it's in, hello, someone's talking to us, it's in our nature. But yeah, it's about finding something that works to you, stick to it, and make sure that it's sustainable.
100%.
Yeah.
No, thank you, ladies. Some again very valuable points there. I think that we all touched upon, and it's really insightful to kind of hear the difference and the digression, you know, from you all in different walks of life. And I think that's why it's really important, because different viewers and different listeners are going to connect on different points and the way it's said and this, that, and the other. I think it's really important to do that. And I think a couple of points again from myself, or what I sort of took away or was highlighted in those conversations was, I think that element of, you know, initially what you said, Brie, you can't just jump to a certain amount of calories. There's no magic number, etc. That has to be earned. That's all cognizant and in correlation to your training, your energy expenditure, you know, your lean body mass. I always say as well, you know, being able to eat a large amount of food, you know, with a very lean physique has to be earned. But the thing is, it's all relative. So people always go, you know, oh, I wish I was on your calories. I wish I was, but it's like, well, it's all relative. So maybe 3,000 calories for me, I am still hungry. We'll go, how is that possible? Yeah, but for you, that's you overeating. But you see, you might have the same hunger level as me at, say, 1,000 calories based on your activity level, your body mass, etc. I think something to understand as well, metabolic rate is genetic. You can't change it, but you can manipulate it. Oh, this is a big misconception. So it's the same with muscles. People go, oh, you change the shape. You never actually change the shape of your muscle, you only change the size, and therefore changing the body fat creates the illusion that therefore you change the shape. And it's the same with your metabolic rate. If you add lean tissue, if you change your energy expenditure, etc., hormonal balances, they all change and manipulate. But some people just naturally have faster, some people have slower, but you can influence it in a positive and or negative way. So I really like that point. Again, like you said, there is too much choice. We need to simplify things. Once again, we've talked about it. There's just too much out there. There's too much information. There's too much choice. There's too much variety.
So it's not just food. It's everything.
It's everything.
Have you seen that movie Wall-E?
I've heard of it, but I've not seen it.
Ages
With the
ago.
robot thing.
Yeah, and like they got to the point where they were all like these really obese people sitting on these chairs that would follow this track around, and you'd have like lunchtime, it'd be right there in front of you. It's kind of the same, like we can just go anywhere and pick up some food. It's just right in front of us. If you're bored, you just get it. Now we've lost track of being able to, oh, I'm hungry, like I'm gonna eat, you know? And then when you overeat like bad foods, like you're like, oh, I really want something, like I always crave like a green juice or something like that to make you feel better because you feel dirty inside.
Plyometrics, by the way, that's what's happening. There's banging upstairs now, and sounds like someone's working out hard workouts.
Good on you.
Because it's like someone doing a bounce. I can just imagine someone bouncing a deadlift is what I'm imagining. But no, that's a really good point, Brie. you know, to find food is so much easier now when we look at physiological
so
time.
accessible, and we've lost, like, you know, there's cars and electric scooters and electric, what are the skateboards and stuff like that. We've lost track of being able to, like, walk and stuff like that. When Jack and I were in Canada, we walked everywhere. Everything was on foot. Like, we didn't have a car. And I was like on the same amount of calories for like a year, and only when I was in Canada did I notice, because we were like energy expenditure so much more. Whereas we just lost track of being able to be more active, I guess, like stop being so active, because everything's just so easy and accessible these days.
And that's it, and that goes back to what, you know, Gay was saying, I think, as well, about, you know, things were different. You had to expend more energy back in the day. There was less obesity, purely based on the fact that the population, the variety, the accessibility of food, the pricing of food, etc. But you move more. You know, we've got dishwashers now. I mean, whether you use them or not. You know, even washing the dishes versus putting them in the dishwasher, so all those little calories, all that what we call NEAT, you know, non-exercise activity thermogenesis, that all adds up. You know, and I think that's why a lot of people are going to find this now. If they're out of work, who have had active jobs, you may need to make an adjustment, but we might go into that another stage, with your calories, because you will be less active, or vice versa, you might now become more active because you're going to walk to save money for petrol. You're going to have to find resources like we did in the latter stages. But again, we're just getting more and more lazy as a population, and a lot of people then blame things like, oh, well, I'm just getting old. It's like, well, it's not just that simple, but people play the victim mindset of many things. And like you said, Sandy, you know, a lot of, I think this is bespoke to females, there's just so much yo-yoing. Men are generally, they're on, they're off, they're simple creatures. Women generally want more variety, there is more complexity, which is not a bad thing. But yeah, they're going again upstairs. Good on them. But then at the same time, it's about addressing that, and I think that's why understanding these basic principles, you know, of nutrition and understanding energy balance and then macronutrients, micronutrients, etc. When we talk about the nutritional hierarchy, sets you free from all of this minutia, and also the fact that you're going to be subject to a lot of these marketing ploys, which I think females are based on their suggestiveness. You know, that it's the same with, and I hope you don't mind me saying this, but like cold readers, things like that, women they fall a lot more prey to it because you're a lot more suggestive, or you're open to the ideas, which again is not a bad thing, but it just leaves the gate open for a lot of people to come in and take advantage, unfortunately.
I think we have a susceptibility to stuff, perhaps that men just
Well, and it's not necessarily men are defended to it, they're just lazy. Men will generally just go, I'll just keep doing what I'm doing. You know, and generally as men we're bigger.
That's
interesting.
That might work. I'll try that.
Correct. You know, and that's why I think you see a lot of like Slimming World, Jenny Gray, it's all female dominant. But then the flip side of that is that because you generally require less calories, generally you're smaller people, you're closer to that. Like, wow, you've not got a lot of room for error here. And then obviously you have the ability to give life. Men, we don't. There's a lot more going on there. When you guys get, on low calories, there's a lot more repercussions than there is for a man. And so it's almost more unfair. And then you just see women like just go on these spirals, and they just get so depressed, and it's such a shame. And I see it all the time, and they can't see a way out because of their own experience. And then obviously when someone does come along with an olive branch, they never take it because they've been burned that many times that of course they don't want to listen to someone say something that, oh, it can't be just that simple, it can't be energy balance, it can't be just lifting heavier weights, and I think that's where you need to really build a lot of trust. But it comes back down to behaviour and habits and lifestyles we touched on too, which I think is really important.
And it takes time.
Yes.
It's not, you've taken how many, you were saying, I wish I got into it when I was my age, or I'm thinking I wish I got into it when I was your age. I mean, I was fit and I was sporty, but I was not tapped into nutrition, and I was weight training, but I was weight training in a very different way to what I'm training now. And I look at how there are some beautiful role models on social media. Have you ever seen that Train with Joan? I'll give her a little plug here. She's I don't even know how old she is. I think she's in her 70s or Train with Joan.
Where's she based?
I think she might be. I don't even know where she's based, but this woman is phenomenal.
Because there's a woman called Eve here, and she's in her 70s.
Yeah, and she just looks magnificent. And even her daughter, I think, fashionista. I can't even remember what her daughter's name is, but she was in her 50s, and then she decided, I've had enough, and she did this amazing body transformation, and she was saying how she was
massive muscles.
Yeah, so she was saying how she was like in her 30s, she was healthy and she was doing these things, but she was a big partier.
Yeah.
And then she just did a change, and then her doing this, I mean, she looks phenomenal for someone in her 50s. If you look at her daughter even, there you go, nice little plug.
Oh, wow.
But
Okay.
if you look at her transformation,
I'll
like,
check it out later.
what a positive,
See, there you go.
you know, so it can be done at any age, but it is going to
That's
take
like
time.
a role model,
Yeah.
so.
That's positive. And I mean, if you click on her daughter as well,
So good.
her daughter has, in her 50s, has a figure that anyone
Oh,
in
wow.
her 20s would want.
Well, I think there are
Yeah.
a lot of women out there who are in their 50s and 60s who absolutely look like incredible.
Yeah.
Like, incredible, you know? It
And they-
really is a lot of...
And I'm not trying to, you know, like, Brie, you're switched on, but there are a lot of girls who don't, you know, you're a little bit older, you're a little bit more experienced, you can
Yes.
separate the truth from this is a load of BS, and you know you can actually
Life
get
experience.
you can get amazing benefits from it.
Mm.
Yeah, but yeah, that's it just takes time.
That is a good point, actually. I think the younger audience are more susceptible
Yeah.
to it because they all want it. They're very, you know, and we've all been there.
Instant
Man or woman.
gratification.
Well, you're young, and I was speaking to someone else today about this, and it was my bookkeeper Nola, and we were on about being at home, and she's got a young son, and she was like, you know, he's saying he's bored, read a book, this, that, and the other. But I said, you know, it's funny, isn't it? Because we can all relate. Like, when we were that age, we couldn't see the perspective, and there's no way, there was just nothing in the world you could do to change that perspective. And when I was in New Zealand, you know, living on the top of a hill, in literally paradise, could have done whatever I wanted, whenever I wanted. My dad always said, you know, you appreciate that now more, don't you? And I look back and go, wow, I do. But that fear of missing out,
Fear of missing out,
and being young and just susceptible, I used to, you know, watch, even though I didn't watch a lot, like a lot of people, I watched too much TV, played too much PlayStation. I was pretty lucky, I was sort of motivated, but that was a tough time because it made me a little bit depressed in many ways, and you know, because you're comparing yourself to people, or just being on technology just has a negative impact on your psyche, especially if you're not using it to educate yourself and giving you know, breaks and being isolated. And this is a similar time where a lot of people are going to be isolated, which is a nice little segue into my next question, which is about mental health and the effects that training has had on it for you ladies and the people you've come in contact with. But for a lot of the younger generation, there's almost very little you can do apart from guiding and leading by example, because if you push them, they're going to resist, in terms of showing them that, hey, you know, there are things that you can do at this time, what you should be doing to get away from the screens and less superficial and vain. Because a lot of women, you know, it's all about, especially here in the Gold Coast, boobs, lips, status, the guy with the most tattoos they're going out with, the fucking latest muscle nation, and it's appalling, right? And all of that really leads them, and they're all the same. Do the same, say the same, look the same, post the same, do the same workout, do the same stuff. But it's so hard when you're in it, and I get it, because if I try and have a little bit of empathy, and this is hard, but I think it's an important skill, I can understand why they want to do that. Of course, they've got their friends doing it, you know, and that's the thing, and of course that's what you want to do. So I get it. I'm not saying that, you know, it's oh, well, you should know better, because, well, they shouldn't. And you look at their mum and dad, and perhaps they're not good role models, you know. So that, you know, who if anything is going to lead by example for them. Hence why I want to get you ladies together and create an impact with a lot of other people around the world who are doing them. We are there, you know, team good guys, hashtag if you like. But it's about, you know, trying to get people who are real. You know, they're providing positive information, and they're leading by example. We're not perfect, we all make fuck-ups, that's fine, but trying to get information across to actually help the psyche, you know, and the physicality of a lot of women, because I think, quite frankly, although there is a shift, Sandy, we talked about it, there's still a massive decline, and it's getting pretty, like, it's quite disgusting, quite honestly. Like, some of the stuff I see in the gym, like, I'm like, what are you doing? What are you injecting into yourself? What are you doing in front of the mirror? Like, doing that and having no respect for anybody else. Like, it's getting to the point where it's like, wow, and they're getting more empowerment off of the females, and it's like, you're just putting fuel on the fire here.
But yeah, people are just, it's human nature, right? There are packs. We follow in packs. Let's look what happened with the toilet paper. Let's look what happened with
I've got some if you want some.
You know what I mean? Like, it's just, oh, I see someone doing that. Oh, maybe I should be doing that too. You know, look what's happening with everything going off the shelves. It's human nature to follow in your packs, right? So yeah, once again, if you're surrounded by those people, if you take the 10 people that you surround yourself with mostly, you're gonna be
the average.
You're gonna be the average of those 10 people. So it's just, you're influenced by what's close to you.
So true.
And it's really hard to tap into it when the hordes of people are doing the same thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't try to panic and I don't try to get fear, and you know, but when I'm going into the shops and I just want to buy my regular chicken mince and it's running out, then I'm like, okay, I'm sane, but maybe I should get some because you know.
Or we're all
so it's the same in the fitness industry. It's the same in strength training. Anything you do, like it's just we're influenced. We want to be part of a pack. You know, you don't want to. Sometimes you dumb yourself down because you don't want to be out of your pack. You know. Why have people stopped? Yeah, why have people stopped standing up for what they believe? You know.
The last time I was in the supermarket, which would have been on Monday or Sunday, I pulled into Coles and they had toilet rolls, and I thought, oh, good. So I went and picked up, and then I thought,
do I need it?
why on earth do you've got toilet rolls at home? And I sort of did it there for a minute. It's like, whether I want to, just it's like, oh, don't be so ridiculous, and I put them back. And I thought, no.
But like the initial subconscious mind took over.
Yeah, it was like, oh my God, I haven't seen toilet paper for 2 weeks or whatever. I don't know, and maybe this is a generalisation, but I don't think the older generation are quite so susceptible to the peer pressure type stuff that maybe
it's different.
The younger ones succumb to, with wanting to be, like you said, Alex, the lips, the boobs, the butt, the gear, the hair in the ponytail that has to be readjusted how many times in the mirror, how many flicks of the head, and I mean, I watch it and I just think, I don't think I would ever have been like that. I feel personally I'm happy with how I am. I don't think I would ever, even if I had the time again, I don't think I want to look like a whole bunch of other girls.
I think it was the era, and for people that are not aware, you're a good-looking woman, and I've seen photos of you when you were younger, and you're tall, you're like model material, and I'm not just saying that. So I think for people listening, because a lot of people go, oh, well, maybe she doesn't look so good and all this, but it's like, no, you definitely could have fell into that category. But like you said, in your era, the focus was different. But you did still admire, like you mentioned some, classic, actors and icons before.
Yeah.
And even looking back at a lot of Brooke Shields, things like that, looking at it's funny how the idol has changed. Like you look at a lot of yours,
classic
look at
beauty.
Yeah, look at Kim Kardashian versus say someone like Brooke Shields back in the day, and it was like, oh wow, like they were both considered to be stunners, but look at the cosmetic difference.
Well, that's all going to change now, isn't it? Goodbye nails, goodbye lashes, goodbye lip injectors, goodbye.
This is
all the true colours will come out very soon.
Oh, yeah.
the real
I actually seen
will
one
emerge.
in the supermarket this morning. Actually, one of the Fantastics from the gym. I'll name no names, and you should have seen the look on her face. Sour as a lemon as always, but didn't have a lot of makeup on and didn't have a lot of stuff. And I'm like, ooh, you look a bit different now, don't you? But it's like, just be okay with it. I admire females who don't feel that, and I understand the need, to want to do it, but females who don't
it
have
does
to.
make you feel better. There's nothing wrong with it. That's fine.
And when you
look after yourself, you're presentable. There's nothing wrong with that. But
it's time and a place.
Yeah.
And then you do look $1 million, but I don't think you should have to be pressured into it.
No.
Or wear like layers all the time. And that can't be good for you, and also it can't be good for your financial status too.
No, that's right. I think the only time that I actually consciously ever copied someone, and it was only the hairstyle, because there was no way I was ever going to be Twiggy, and I don't know whether you know who I'm talking about, but I had my hair cut cut in a Twiggy hairstyle.
Yeah.
Part there, down over the eye,
Oh,
quite
beautiful.
short,
Yeah.
and that was it. I was twigging, but that didn't last long.
Yeah.
And I've always been tall and quite well built, so there was no way I was ever going to be like, wafer thin. That was my only time in my life where I actually consciously gone to the hairdresser and gone, yep, I want Twiggy's haircut, please.
Yeah. And I think we've all done those things, haven't we? We've all been there and susceptible to things and tried to emulate things, and there's nothing wrong with that. I think it's just whether you continue to do that and, like you said, your circle of influence over time, because at some point...
Or just become more comfortable as you
In
get
yourself.
older in
Well,
your
that's
own self.
happiness is an inside job.
Yeah, that's right. You can look in the mirror and you can think, oh yeah, well, I'd like to change this and I'd like to do that and I'd like to do this and whatever. But what does it really matter in the big scheme of things?
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, and I think people are realising that now.
Well,
Now the
there's
bubble
going to
has
be a
burst.
shift. There's going to be a huge shift.
What's really important, right?
That's it. And it's at the end of the day, you're sitting on the couch with someone you love, and your family's safe, and you're happy, and you're healthy, and
100%.
you are able to move.
Yep.
That's all that matters, really.
Yeah.
It is health and
Once that
relationships.
screen shuts off, and none of that matters.
No, doesn't matter how many followers you got.
No.
Just be happy with
Yeah.
what you've got and how you are.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah, that's some good points. Well, let's get into the last major question before we do some rapid fire, because I know we are doing well for time. But again, it's long form content, and look, we could talk all day. But again, to keep the
We
relevance.
can. Yeah.
But I think there's a lot of great line of threads of conversation going around. I think a lot of people can, especially a lot of females, are going to be able to relate and take some of it away, and hopefully maybe some of them will go, oh, maybe I need to change the way I approach certain things, and we're all going to be here to help out, and we'll address that at the end. But the last one, I think, because it is relevant, this scenario we find ourselves in, and regardless, it doesn't matter, I think it all is, which is the mental aspects. We've talked about, physical, we've talked about nutrition, we'll try and sort of sum it up, with the lifestyle, the things that people don't address. What has training done for your mental psyche, ladies, and perhaps those who you've helped around you be able to get into more training as well? I think I'd like to sort of get your opinion and your thoughts on that. You can use real life examples with yourself, with clients, with friends, whatever it might be, whatever's relevant. And once again, we might reverse around back. So if you want to start us off, Sandy, you know.
Well, for me personally, huge.
Yeah.
If anything is bad in my life, the one thing that's constant is the gym.
Yeah.
And I know there's a lot of people, like 90% of my clients text message Sunday, stressed out, my whole life is falling apart, I can't go to the gym, So yeah, like it's not just the physical, it's not just the way that you look and the way that you feel, but mentally you can switch off to the whole world with training, and just enjoy that time. It's gold. It's liquid gold. It's just amazing to be in the gym, and it's amazing to feel strong and be able to do things. And for my clients, as far as anxiety and depression, and I have clients that have started with me that have had, and I won't mention names, that have been on several medications under the sun, and we just started really simple, and now they're completely off that, and it's beautiful to see. And has the gym helped them? Yes. But it's also been that connection and finding friends through training and socializing in a positive environment rather than a negative environment where maybe drugs and alcohol may be involved. So, and then some people go, oh, you're obsessed with the gym. I'm like, well, would I rather be obsessed with the gym and nutrition than obsessed with bad things? Like, don't mock people for doing something that's good for them. So yeah, personally, amazing, great results, got me through some tough times in my life. And for my clients, it's just every single one of my clients, and we all have something that we're fighting and working through, and it's just been amazing to see them come through stuff. So yeah.
Oh, that's great.
My job past tense, my job was mentally quite challenging, but physically I would just sat behind a desk and behind a computer, so the gym for me was just a way to sort of, I don't know, be in an environment where everybody else for the most part is there for the same reason. Now that there's no gym and the job's gone, I'm going to have to be careful.
Yeah.
that's going to be challenging.
And I didn't mean to get emotional about this, but
It's okay.
I'm just going to have to be really careful that I don't get into a bit of a downward slump and let all the good work go to waste.
but that's why you have us, right? And I mean, I've only just started talking to you, but Alex has always been a big support, and you know, we can do these things, even if it's a Skype call or a, you know.
Yeah, I think I'll be okay, but there's just a little, you know, like, yeah, it's going to be really challenging, but it's not just challenging for me, you know, it's challenging for lots of people in lots of different areas, so
100%.
So as long as I don't keep just putting me as, I mean, yeah, I'm important to me, I'm the most important thing to me, but do you know what I mean? I'm not the only one in the boat here. So, you know, you guys have lost your livelihoods and to a large extent, and everybody's in the same boat, so, yeah.
We are, and we'll get through it, you know, and that's why we use those resources, and we'll keep the fanfare and the camaraderie high, and we'll create these communities and these cultures, you know, and these daily systems and rituals, if you like, to be able to, you know, band together, and where we can, even if it is in small groups, you know, even if it is using, like you said, Sandy, technology to keep fanfare high and morale high. And I think being able to work out is something where you can win the day, because we all know by working out it does release hormones, you know, dopamine, etc. Reduces stress, cortisol. You know, yeah, we're going to go through some tough times, but if we can still work out, if we can still do these basic things, even if it is at home, or sometimes it's going to a home gym, sometimes it's going for a walk with a friend, or whatever we can do in our environment, we can always make a better choice.
Yeah.
But yeah, support will be there, so I appreciate the honesty again.
And take away the pride, ask for help, you know. I think us women, we try, everybody always relies on us, you know, and even in our jobs, we're always, I think sometimes you need to just step back and go, you know what guys, I need some help, rather than sitting there and just trying to deal with things on your own. I have seen so many people come together, which is one positive out of all of this, and people are banding together like I've never seen, even in the fitness industry with the good influencers that are out there. Everybody's just willing to help, and no one's seeking any reward or like recognition for it. People just genuinely want to help, and that's all we can do at this stage.
Yeah, unity, you know, as we talk about, I think it's a big thing. And that's one key element, like you said, it's positive that will come out of this scenario, but we have to do it. You know, because, I mean, we are all human, you know, we are all of the same breed. Doesn't matter what colour you are, what age you are, you know, what ethnicity. We need to, this is a time where, you know, and there will be individuals who will not, and that's all part of it, but most people, I believe, given the opportunity, are good people. When it comes down to it, most people with the mental psyche that's not disturbed will make the right choices. And that is the majority of people out there. You know, most people will, and I think that's what we're going to see. Like you said, Sandy, we've already seen a lot of it. I've experienced a lot of it. I'm doing my best to contribute to it, making sure you're still taking care of yourself and the people around you. And I think if we all just put in our, 10 cents or whatever you want to call it, I think we'll get through. I mean, we look back, even though in our lifetimes we've not seen anything as devastating as this in terms of a viral pandemic. There have been incidents, but they've been very acute. You know, to name a few, obviously the Twin Towers, etc. You know, we've had SARS.
Even the bushfires and the floods and other stuff.
There's so many.
You know, I mean,
tsunamis.
For most of us,
we haven't
experienced. We're very sheltered. We've got it good. You're right, and perhaps that and there's people around the world who, they deal with this sort of shit on a daily basis. And I guess it's all about that adaptation, right? So it's time for us to maybe not be so, precious, because we live in a fantastic country.
I was just about to say, born and bred in South Africa, different. You just got to deal with stuff. Like you get thrown some curveballs, and you're like, oh well, time to adapt or die.
It's like that.
That's life, right?
Oh yeah.
And I mean, you can go back into some other things in biblical times if you wanted to, and depending on, I'm not throwing any belief systems or anything, but you know, there's some other stuff that people have got through and that are worse, you know.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Yeah,
Yeah.
If we can get through that, we will get through that.
yeah, we will.
But
Together.
Yes, and that's the thing.
And you know what? It's still going to suck.
It is.
We're all going to go through times and cry and get angry and feel your emotions. Take it out on a punching bag or something, I don't know.
It's true. I think it's important.
On your squats.
That's it. It's important to let emotions come and sit and acknowledge them and embrace them, rather than always pushing them away, which a lot of people, especially men, I'll speak for men, to a degree do. But yeah, you shouldn't. You should
Are you
just let them
okay?
sit. I'm okay. I am okay. Obviously, there's always struggles. I'm always open to that, but you know, I'm quite positive and resourceful, and you know, speaking with people like yourselves, I'm very fortunate. So I know that I'll be able to, you know, unite myself with my friends, clients, and family, and together we'll make this world a better place again. And who would have thought a virus of all things, right? Fuckers. But again, physiological.
Oh, hey Jack, how you doing, brother? Let's grab you some photos.
Yeah, go for it. All good, brother.
Hi.
Hi.
You know, famous on the podcast. No, go for it, man. I just put your cushions in your wardrobe as well, dude.
Sorry.
I just put your cushions in your wardrobe. They were on the floor, so I just put them in there so you didn't forget them.
Yeah.
Bree, over to you.
Well, like Sandy, training has been like my everything. That's the one thing that has stayed steady. Nothing. I like, no matter what I've gone through, like breakups, parents splitting up, like no loss of job, like anything, like training has always been like the one thing that's always, I guess you could say, there for me, sort of thing. It's my peace, and I know for a lot of people that's the number one thing. They're just like, you know, like that's the first thing I'm going to say no to. I've got to figure out my life first. But I think having that time, that mental time to like for yourself to just think about what's going on, like logically think instead of rationally, has been a big, it is a big thing to so many people, and I think it needs to be more present in a lot of people's lives, because you don't understand how crazy, like it helps with so many things, and seeing that through my clients as well, going through like, because all I've known my whole life is like exercise. I've done running, like CrossFit, like just strength, like anything and everything. I've always done something, and I think when you see in other people's lives, them just starting out now when they're older, it's crazy to see like the actual benefits in real life that it actually has on people, and it's really cool. And that's why like I want to share that with other people as well, show them that like, you know, the basics are what's going to help you. You know, it's not about the, you know, taking all these pills to be able to get to sleep, or like, you know, for depression and anxiety and stuff like that. Obviously there's different levels and stuff like that, but yeah, training isn't just about lifting weights and looking good at all. There's a whole other side to it as well, for sure. Yeah, it's been my rock, I guess you could say. So
Actually, it just made me think, several of the girls at work would sort of go, oh, it's been such a hell of a day, and I can't wait to get home, and got a nice bottle of red and a bottle of white, and I'm thinking, you'd be better off going for a walk. It's like, Gay, what are you going to do? It's like, I'll go to the gym.
100%.
So everybody's got their own sort of crutch, if you like, but you know, I mean, and that's not to say you can't have a glass of
enjoy
wine,
a glass of wine, have some chocolate.
but just to be doing it, I don't know. I don't know.
Balance.
I'd just rather do what I'm doing. But I just feel that, or have felt, that a lot of the girls think that I'm a bit balmy for doing stuff like that at, you know, when I could be going. But it's just different ways of looking at things. It's what's important in my life and what's important in their life.
And we are still the minority.
Very often it can be a big gap in between. I sort of can't see that it's important to go home and stick your feet up on the puff or the chair or whatever in your lazy boy and you know, drop a bottle of wine, when I could be over doing my squats and lunges and
Right.
deadlifts.
And most of them, you know,
And I'll sleep just as well as they do.
yeah,
They
Mine
might
won't be alcohol and juice.
yeah, exactly. And they might, you know, some people will try it and they just won't like it.
No,
They'll
that's
just hate
right.
it.
It doesn't
And
work.
it just, it
What
will
works
fit
for
in the
one
too
doesn't
hard
work for
box,
the
and
other.
you know, like it's unfortunate, but they will look for the quick fix and they will look for the easy solution.
Mm.
But yeah, at least we're trying to make a difference.
Yeah. And I think it's those first couple of weeks trying to get into that routine of it is the biggest thing, trying to break habits and stuff like that, like going home instead, and just, because that's easy, whereas like training is not easy, like, you know.
Yeah, and you do fall out of the habit. You do,
Exactly.
and you know, can you pick yourself out of that again and continue?
Yeah.
That's the important bit.
Yeah.
We've
And
all
I think
gone. Yeah.
It's a big thing to do with like, I just lost the word.
Routine.
No, discipline for yourself, you know,
Yeah.
like, and it then translates into so many other areas of your life. Like, when like shit hits the fan, what are you gonna do? Like, do you have the discipline to, you know, be able to survive in a way? And I guess that's like, you know, I also love going to the gym because you meet like-minded people. Like, because I'm so young, my friends still go out and party, and well, not so much my friends anymore because I don't do that stuff. You kind of fall out of contact.
You
And I
have a
think-
different set of friends who've got different
Yeah,
set of
exactly. And
values
they're the
and
same.
stuff.
Like, you know, you'll go out every once in a while for a friend's birthday or something and be like, oh God, I don't want to ever do that again. How do people do this every single weekend? You know? And I think, yeah, just being able to meet people that actually, you know, like you said, like you're the average of your 10, like top 10 people you hang around. I want to be like those people, not going out partying and having like one night that you can't even remember, sort of thing, you know? So,
I think one of the biggest things I've ever said to my clients is be the boss of your own body. You would never say no to your boss, you would never, so don't say no to yourself. You know,
Yeah.
it's time sometimes for women especially to stop being selfish, putting themselves first and looking after themselves, because if you look after yourself, mentally, physically, emotionally, you're going to be a better wife, better partner, better mother, better whatever it is in your life.
Yeah.
You will operate better at work, you will be mentally clearer, you will, don't say no to yourself. Stop saying no to yourself. And yes, this is a testing time now where we don't have that exposure to gyms, but we can still band together and do stuff and get through this.
Yeah. You've got to serve yourself, I think, before you serve others.
100%.
And that's something that I've talked about many times, so I'm not going on about it for people who have listened to the other podcasts and features, but it's such a simple concept. Just think of CPR, just think of just any medical emergency. You've got to look after number one first, because if you can't look after yourself, you can't look after anyone else. So you do have to have an element of selflessness or being selfish, but it really isn't. It's just common sense, because you've only got your body, you've only got you to live like you. And by the law of averages and common sense, if you don't have that, you don't have anything. And then again, it's just about ordering that priority. And what you ladies touched on is habits and behaviours and environments. And I think I'll put a few links to articles and resources that can touch base on that, because I think the identity and the behaviour and the habits and your cultural background is going to be the difference regardless of how you progress in life. And I think if you can address that and understand how to change, adapt, improve, alleviate, that is where you'll find the root cause of change. And again, you've just created so many great examples of that, people not being on the same page about training, some people just not having the character and the discipline at certain times, but we all can adapt and change, and it doesn't mean that we have to do the same thing as everybody else, but we've just got to find our way of doing it, which aligns with our belief system, and perhaps reevaluating that over time. A word that comes to mind is therapy. For me, training, I think for a lot of people, is therapy. Some people have other methods. Some people take time to change their methods. A lot of people turn to alcohol, TV, drugs, whatever it might be. A lot of people who are healthy and fit turn to the gym. I know through the toughest times of my life, working out has been one of the pivotal things to get me through, because it felt like I'd achieved something, and it made me feel good, even just for a little while initially with the mental battles, and at least I'd done something positive and invested in my most important asset, which is my health. And then I thought, well, if I've got that and I can always do that, then I'm always doing something positive every day, and then I can try and build on that. But it gives you a little win, and then sometimes it's about breaking it down and just starting off with those little 1%, and then they add up. Might start with just, I always say, making your bed in the morning, writing down one thing you're grateful for. It sounds really silly, you know, and I used to laugh at this, but it works. And then you go and work out, and then maybe you do a random act of kindness, and all of a sudden you get all these wins, and you're like, I actually feel good, right? And you've done literally not much to be able to do that. And then over time, that becomes a habit, and then you improve and you build on that. So I think there's a lot of really good strategies there, and a lot of good examples that you ladies made, and a lot of great, you know, points for people to take away. So before we wrap it up, we'll do some rapid fire, then we'll hit a final question on a tangent, and I'll make it more bespoke to this situation, and then we'll share, you know, any contacts, resources, so people can get in touch if, when, and how, and, you know, be able to communicate, because I think that's really important to be contactable during this time. And obviously rapid fire now, Sandy, I know you've answered some of these, so I've got quite a few, but I'll play a few different ones on the table, which I think will be a bit more relevant. So the first one is, ladies, if you could meet anyone, dead or alive, and they could be at this table right now with us for 5 minutes, who comes to mind first? Bree, go. Rapid fire.
I have one.
Rapid fire. Just anyone. Could be someone famous, it could be someone influential, it could be someone dead or alive, that just, it could even be like Jack right here, right now, you know what I mean? Like, just anyone.
I have no idea. I feel like I've never been that person to like I do look up to people, but there's no like one person that I'd be like, you're the number one person I want to speak to, or, you know, sort of thing. I feel like I do look up to a lot of people, and I'm not that person that's like, I listen to this one person. I take bits and pieces, and I'm open-minded, so I couldn't choose anybody, to be honest.
No, that's good. But to make it clear, it's not about the one person you look up to or who's the most of it. It's just about if you could summon anyone to be at this table right now and have a chat with, who would it be?
Whoever created the universe so that we could...
See, that's a great... No, see, that's a great answer. That's the best answer I've had to that question. There you go, thinking outside the box. There's no right or wrong.
Yeah.
Okay?
Wow, I mean, I'm happy with me. I wouldn't want to be anybody. As to having another person here at the table, wow, they're just... I mean, why not Elvis?
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I like it. Yeah, I feel like you'd be able to actually offer some sort of counsel at this time, and if not, you'd be able to sing us a nice little song.
That's dead right.
Step on the blue station.
Oh, I'm going to get a bit soppy here and say my dad
It's a good one.
passed away, and I mean, why wouldn't I have him at the table and
To at least it's kind of maybe
be like, hey, what do you reckon? I'm going all right?
yeah, or maybe have that conversation.
Yeah, I
that you
would.
didn't get to have with
Absolutely.
them. No, I think that's a great answer.
Hmm.
Right, next one is, we'll go with something different. If you could choose to live forever, would you?
No.
No?
I feel like there wouldn't be a sense of urgency. You take that away, and people would just be lazy shits, I guess. Like, you wouldn't want to, you know, if you've got all the time in the world, why would you try and achieve something now, why not later? Like, it'd always be like pushing it back sort of thing, and I feel like, I don't know, like, yeah, it'd
Deadlines
be cool.
are good.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah. Be cool in a way, but at the same time, I wouldn't choose that. No.
That's a really good answer.
Isn't
That
it?
is a really good answer, because you would have all the time in the world.
Yeah.
I mean, are you aging as this time is progressing?
You get to live, you get to, no, you live,
just get to be...
let's say, well, if you live forever, we could play it out like you're Dracula and you get old, but you can become young. No, let's just say you stop aging when you get to, say, you would have stopped aging when you
Okay,
get to,
so I've
your
stopped
prime,
aging
say
now.
35.
No, because I much as it...
Like, if you've seen the movie In Time, you get to a certain your prime age and then you just get time. And if you don't keep earning time, then you die.
I haven't. I don't really think I would want to live forever. No, I don't. Because there'd be so much change happening that would be hard to adapt to. I mean, you would want to, but it must have been hard for say my mum, who passed away last year at 93, but had been in care for the last 10 years just with dementia. So she had not a lot of quality of life. So do I? No, I don't want to live forever. No.
I'd love to. I know that's random. If I didn't, like, obviously get old and get cared for, and not get old, but like if I was in a situation where I couldn't look after myself. But I think I would love to. I think I would love to take on the wisdom and the knowledge and teach other people and guide people. And I think that's my perspective of, like, yes, there would be a deadline, but meh. Like, you got time. See, I see it as a positive. I think you got time, and you got time to learn, and yeah, I don't know. It's a weird one.
It is, and it's an interesting perspective, and it's cool that on this episode to have literally different people and different answers so transiently, because you're right, they're all great points, because it depends on what perspective you're looking at it from. And I think it depends on what type of person you are. If you're someone like driven like us, I'm the same. I'd want to live forever because man, I've got so much to do. But then, like you said, Brie, for people who are not driven, no, I mean, they're just going to be energy suckers and resource suckers.
Today what
See, I
can
totally
do
agree
tomorrow
with that.
or
It'd be
next
cool,
year.
but it's also like I wouldn't have the same mindset. I wouldn't want to try and learn. Like, I know, knowing me, like having a deadline is the biggest thing. Otherwise, like, yeah, you have all the knowledge in the world, but I wouldn't actually go learn, you know, because it's
you
like
wouldn't
one.
have, you wouldn't have to, because you've
forever.
got time, so you just soak in everybody else's knowledge.
True.
Yeah.
Just be a vampire.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
probably this is the reason why
I
I
reckon
like
it would be
that.
hard though. Like you're seeing,
Interview with a vampire.
like seeing back,
so good.
like when you were young to now, like you're probably like, what the hell are all these kids doing? You know, like this is crazy.
It is, and it's actually hard sometimes not to be judgmental.
Exactly.
Of course, yeah.
So imagine living even
I
like
know.
next gen.
Yeah.
Like, oh,
That's why
I'd
I
get
said
so
what I said.
angry at everyone.
Yeah.
I reckon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it. Imagine speaking to someone who lived on this planet for 3,000 years.
Yeah.
Like what you could learn from them. Like imagine having coffee with that person.
It'd be pretty cool.
Wow.
Let's bring that person to the table.
Yeah.
Exactly. You know
We'll
what I mean?
take that person.
So many fascinating alternatives to explore there. All right, let's have, this one is probably more relevant to now because of, the restrictions we have on borders and flights and travel. If you could wake up anywhere in the world tomorrow, where would it be and why?
Does it have to be like in this time or like before coronavirus was a thing?
Oh, just tomorrow. So coronavirus would still be a thing, but you could just literally transport and wake up there. You went to sleep and you just magically woke up anywhere in the world.
Well,
Anywhere.
I think we've got it pretty good. Like to be honest, I would say Greece, but like at the same time, I'm not actually entirely sure what's happening over there. So I don't know. Yeah. So I'm thinking like Australia is probably your best bet right now. Like, yeah, I don't know.
No, that's good. Whatever comes to mind. That's good. Yeah, some nice views if you're in Santorini.
Yeah, exactly.
That's where everyone wants to go.
Yeah.
The postcard.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, part of me wants to say back in New Zealand, but unless I'm actually living with my son and daughter-in-law and the grandkids, I wouldn't be able to visit them because they're that one stage further on, and unless you live with somebody, you can't go and visit them. So that's probably not practical.
No, but you just wake up there, so there's no rules. Corona's still here, but like you just wake up in a bed in that environment.
Yeah.
Could be in a river if you like, but
I don't know. I sort of go back to, hey, why not just stick with what I know and I don't know. Without perhaps more thought.
Well, that's it. This is just thought-provoking.
We live in such a great place, so
Never mind.
just stay where I am,
No,
be
fair
where
enough.
I am.
It's a good one.
I'd say probably in a mansion somewhere with a home gym.
Yeah.
I'll wake up and hold your own now.
I was gonna say
Yeah, in the gym.
Under a squat rack with 5 plates, and I can actually squat it now.
Yeah, exactly. In the gym would be the goal.
And the pool area is not closed.
no.
Yay,
Yeah.
there we go.
Just
Yeah.
smash
Lucy
the
was so
glass.
devastated by the way.
yeah.
devastated.
Oh, she would be. Yeah.
Because she does that such a good here in town. And Sandy?
Same answer as last time, Fiji.
There we go.
Nothing's changed. I love Fiji. I love the people. I love the we've got time. I love the Fiji time. I love just happy, grateful for what they have every day.
That's it, right?
Simple life. With my husband, of course. It would be great if I could take my 2 little puppies as well.
For sure. Yeah, well, you know, in this scenario, you kind of can.
Yeah.
Ideal
Yeah.
situation.
Fiji. I love Fiji. Or Hamilton Island.
Yeah,
Well,
postcard
they've,
stuff there.
Yeah,
my
that's
sister lives there, and she's saying they've let 300 people go.
Yeah.
She works in the banks, and she's probably okay. But
Yeah, it would be a very hard.
I'd probably go Scandinavia for reasons I won't get into here, but yeah, interesting times. Okay, ladies, where can people find you if they would like to reach out, ask a question, get in touch, follow along with any content you're putting out there? Bree?
Probably Instagram @trainedbybree. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't remember what I am. It's on Instagram, Blue Kiwi 53. Or
I'll put it in.
Find you.
I'll put it in there for you. I can write a letter. No, because I think that, you know, people might, you know, want to reach out, especially in similar situations as you. And I think this is a great chance to not only occupy yourself but provide positivity for other women who are perhaps in your standpoint of your age. I've got questions about
Or
training.
I'm on Facebook, but under my full name, which is Gaynor, Gaynor Webster. And I've got my profile pictures, my grandkids. So.
We'll find you.
Oh, yeah.
Just in Butcherbuck? No, I'm kidding.
Yay.
Yeah, just Sandy _ hold your own on Instagram. But yeah, you've got online info.
That's it. And I will, as always, put all the links to your social media, to your contacts in the show notes below, guys, or on YouTube, or whatever you're watching or listening on this podcast platform. So, guys, thanks for listening. Ladies, thank you for joining me.
Thanks for having us.
I really appreciate it. Interesting times. I think there's a lot of good points people can take away, even if this just lets you escape reality for even just a few hours, and, you know, grab some positive vibes and some information, and we can continue to, you know, spread the good word, and, like we've already talked about, create unity. So until next time, guys, thank you for tuning in. Make sure, you know, you stay tuned. There's going to be a lot of free information I'm putting out, ladies will be putting out, you know, to help you through this time as well. As always, make sure you check out the Academy. Obviously, there's a lot changing, so we're trying to do our best to provide a lot of information and support, you know, regarding everything training, nutrition, and lifestyle at this time. So make sure you stay tuned. Make sure you subscribe to all of those platforms. Most of them are all free or next to free. And we will see you in the next episode. And in the meantime, more than ever, stay fearless.